What's up, guys? Hardleg Joe here with your What a Deck profile for the 55 card Shiranui deck. I'm just going to go through everything in here, and then I'll explain how it works. So for monsters, we're playing 3 Fairy Tale Snow, 3 Shiranui Samurai, 3 Mezuki, 3 Shiranui Spirit Master, 2 Necro Face, 3 Shiranui Smith, 3 Shiranui Solitaire, 3 uni-zombie, 3 Shiranui Spectral Sword, 1 Bacon Saver, and 3 Plague Spreader Zombies. For our spells, we're playing 3 Book of Life, 3 Galaxy Cyclone, 3 That Grass Looks Greener, 1 Raigeki, 3 Gold Sarcophagus, and 3 Left Arm Offering. For our traps, 3 Shiranui style Swallow Slash, 3 Breakthrough Skill, and 3 Shiranui style Samsara. For our extra deck, we're playing 1 Star Eater, 1 Shiranui Sun Saga, 1 Vermilion Dragon Mech, 1 Beals, 1 Void Ogre Dragon, 2 of the Shiranui Shogunsaga, 1 Psyframe Lord Omega, 1 Black Rose Dragon, 1 Archfiend Zombie Skull, 2 Shiranui Samurai Saga, 1 Stardust Charge Warrior, 1 Dark Rebellion Ixie Dragon, and 1 Castell, the Sky Blaster Musketeer. The side deck I'll go over in a moment. So this deck is what I would call a tool bag deck. It's not quite a toolbox because you can't choose which tools you want to use at any specific time. It runs mostly off of this Grass Looks Greener, which if you're unfamiliar with it, if you have more cards in your deck than your opponent, send cards from the top of your deck until you and your opponent have the same cards in your deck. So since we're playing 55 cards, you can mill off usually around 20 cards from your deck. We have a lot of effects that activate in the graveyard, and you can then make whatever synchro summons, or some of these even have effects that are pretty good. But you don't get to choose what goes into the graveyard. It's just sort of a random assortment of things, and that's why I would call it a tool bag. It's you unload the tools into the bag, and then you see what you can pull out. So this is obviously a key card in the deck. In order to search this, we're playing Left Arm Offering. This is a fairly standard combo. If you have 2 or more cards in your hand, banish your entire hand, add 1 spell trap from your deck to your hand. You cannot set spell traps the turn you activate this card. So this is usually worth it in these kinds of decks, to banish your entire hand, because you operate mostly out of the graveyard, so you don't really need a hand in this deck, especially for some of these other techs we have here, like Void Ogre Dragon. In particular, this works really well with the Shiranuis, because all the Shiranui monsters get effects when they're banished. Spirit Master can destroy a face-up card. Samurai lets you add a Shiranui from your graveyard to your hand. Smith makes it so your Shiranuis can't be destroyed by battle. Solitaire is going to let you summon one of your banished Shiranui monsters. Spectral Sword's probably the only one you don't want banished. So this actually has some pretty good synergy in this deck. It's not just a search. You can also plus off of it by adding cards to your hand, or special summoning, or blowing up stuff your opponent controls. So once you've actually milled everything into the graveyard, our main playmaker is going to be uni-zombie. This has 2 effects. You can either target 1 face-up monster on the field, discard a card, and increase that monster's level by 1, or target 1 face-up monster, increase this monster's level by 1, and then send 1 zombie-type monster from your deck to the graveyard. Of course, if you use that second effect, only zombies can attack that turn, so it kind of limits you a little bit. But the great thing about this is you can make it level 4, you can send Mezuki either from your hand or your deck to the graveyard, and then use Mezuki to get any number of level 4 monsters out of the graveyard to make all these level 8 synchro monsters. Shogunsaga is probably the most powerful. It's a zombie tuner and a non-tuner zombie monster. When it's special summoned, you can banish 1 zombie from your graveyard, and this card gains attack equal to the banished monster's attack. And it already has 3,000, so you can make it go up to 4,800 or 4,000. Even 3,500 can be pretty good. And of course, whenever you banish one of these monsters from your graveyard, you get effects. It also has the effect that when it's destroyed, you can target one of your banished zombie monsters with 0 defense, return it to the graveyard, so a little bit of recycling. And like I said before with uni-zombie, if you use that effect, this is the only one that can attack. Fortunately, it's a huge beat stick, so normally you can attack. That's why we play 2 of those. If you're going first, or if you need to worry more about locking your opponent down or stunning them, that's why we play things like Beals. This is not destroyed by card effects or battle, and when you take damage from an attack or from a card effect, this gains attack. So this can be difficult to deal with. It can really only be destroyed by non-destruction removal, which is becoming a little bit more rare these days. Got Void Ogre Dragon, this dark tuner and a non-tuner. During either player's turn, when your opponent activates a spell trap, while you have no cards in your hand, negate it. So this is spell trap negation, and because we're often using Left Arm Offering, because we're dumping things in the graveyard, oftentimes you'll have nothing in your hand, so you can use this. We've also, of course, got Psyframe Lord Omega. During your standby phase, you can get one of your banished monsters, return it to your graveyard, which is good for reusing Mezuki or reusing Spirit Master, banishing it every turn to destroy stuff. Also, during either player's main phase, you can banish this card and a card in your opponent's hand until the next standby phase, which is mildly useful. Not particularly in this deck, it's mostly just for reusing stuff in the graveyard. Of course, uni-zombie's effect doesn't just have to target itself, it can target other monsters. So if you want, you can keep this level 3 by targeting your opponent's monsters and make things like Black Rose Dragon, just every once in a while when you need to clear the field. Or if you use both of its effects to make it level 5, then you can make Vermilion Dragon Mech, which lets you banish a tuner from your hand, field, or graveyard, target one card on the field, and destroy it. And then if this Synchro Summon card is destroyed by a card effect, you can target one of your banished tuners and add it to your hand. Now, uni-zombie can be searched with Shiranui Solitaire. This is tribute one zombie monster, special summon a zombie-type tuner with 0 defense from your deck. And of course, if it's banished, you can special summon a banished Shiranui, which is mildly useful, but mostly you're just using this to normal summon it, go into uni-zombie, and use uni-zombie to get your plays started. You can also summon out Spectral Sword. This is our other tuner. It's level 2, it's how you make most of these level 6 monsters. Normally you don't have this on the field unless it's summoned by Solitaire or one of your spell trap effects. Its main effect is that if it's in the graveyard, except the turn that it was sent to the graveyard, you could special summon a zombie-type synchro monster from your extra deck by banishing it, and a non-tuner zombie from your graveyard. So this lets you make your things like Archfiend Skull Zombie, which makes all your face-up zombie monsters can't be destroyed by card effects. You can also make Samurai Saga, who's mostly just a stepping stone, although he has a couple neat effects. Mainly during either player's turn, you can target one of your banished zombies, shuffle it into the deck, and change all your opponent's monsters to defense position, who have attack less than or equal to that zombies. So if you have one of these banished for whatever reason, everything with 3,000 or less attack goes into defense. Even with this, with 1,800, it's not the most useful effect, but it can help recycle some of your things, and it saved my ass on a couple occasions where people were going to declare attacks with a bunch of monsters, and then I shifted them all to defense position. Also, if this card is banished, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls. It loses 500 attack. Not really all that important. Although, if you banish it with Spectral Sword, you can make Shogunsaga, because it's 6 and 2. And, of course, this is already going to have a crap ton of attack, so lowering it by that 500 sometimes can get you OTKs. Not normally, but it can happen. In addition, we're also playing Plague Spreader Zombie, which is classic. You can, if this is in your graveyard, place one card from your hand on top of your deck, special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. Just another decent tuner, lets you go into your rank 6s, or if you make a level 6 with Spectral Sword, you can then summon this and make one of your level 8s. Because it's a dark tuner, you can use it to make Beals or Void Ogre Dragon. And of course, if you're going for Void Ogre Dragon, this can help you put a card on top of your deck that maybe you can't use necessarily this turn, or that you don't want to set. So it has some synergy there. Of course, it's also a zombie, so it works with everything else. So in addition to summoning this with Mezuki, we're also running Book of Life. This is pretty good for getting your combos going. Target one zombie monster in the graveyard and one monster in your opponent's graveyard. Special summon the zombie and banish your opponent's monster. Everything else in here is just sort of like tech cards, or there's cards I already explained that have additional effects. So I'm just going to start at the top and go through all of them from here, because we've got a lot to cover, people. Fairy Tale Snow, if this card is normal, a special summon, target one monster your opponent controls, switch it face down. Cool on its own regard, but if it's in your graveyard during either player's turn, you can banish 7 other cards in your hand, field, or graveyard to special summon this card. Really awesome with the Shiranuis, because not only can you set something face down, get an 1800 level 4 monster, but if you banish like a Spellmaster, again, you're blowing something up, you're summoning something, you're making all your zombies not destroyed by battle. So this could be a really awesome tech, especially when you mill it into the graveyard. Shiranui Samurai, good non-targeting removal. This is during either player's turn, banish a zombie. This card gains 600 attack, and if it does, banish any monster that battled this card after damage calculation. So obviously, again, you can banish to pop a monster, but he works really well with Smith, because Smith says zombies can't be destroyed by battle when he's banished. So if they attack into this, you can banish Smith, and this won't be destroyed by battle, you'll still take the damage, but whatever monster attacked into it is going to be banished. So this is really good for like non-targeting removal, getting rid of these big monsters that you can't destroy otherwise. Mezuki, I already explained, you banish him from the graveyard to summon a zombie-type monster from your graveyard. Spirit Master, in addition to popping things like crazy, also has the effect that when it's normal summoned, you could special summon a Shiranui monster from your hand or graveyard, except for a copy of itself, but banish it when it leaves the field. So if need be, you can summon Spectral Sword and make one of your level 6 monsters, or more importantly, summon one of your other Shiranuis, use its effect, and then maybe go into a rank 4 play. That's why we're playing the 2 rank 4s, just in case you get one of your other level 4 monsters and the Spirit Master. Necroface is a nice little tech card. When it's normal summon, shuffle all banished cards into the deck. This card gains 100 attack for each, and if this card is banished, each player banishes 5 cards from the top of their deck. So you can either banish this by using like Spectral Sword or one of your other effects that gets rid of monsters in the graveyard. Not the most useful, but if you happen to get one of these or one of these, of course you can get your effects, Special Summon, Pop, Search something. In general, it can be good in sort of a grindier game. If you've got a lot of cards banished and you're starting to run out of resources, this can essentially reset your deck, especially if you're using Fairy Tale Snow a lot and a lot of your cards are banished. This can reset it and allow you to use the Grass Looks Greener again and get more cards in your graveyard. Shiranui Smith, in addition to his banished effect, if he's used for synchro material, you can add one Shiranui card from your deck to your hand, which includes your spell traps, which are both pretty powerful, or any of your monsters if you want to add any of them. Solitaire I already went over. You could tribute this to summon your uni-zombie, get your plays going, and if it's banished, you could summon one of your banished Shiranuis, which works really well in combination with Spectral Sword. You banish Spectral Sword and this from the graveyard to make your level 6, and then use Solitaire's effect to special summon this back onto the field, and then go into a level 8 monster. Or if you already have the level 8, you can go into your level 10. I don't think I mentioned this before. This is 3500 attack, one of the newer Shiranuis. When this card is special summoned, return any number of zombie-type synchro monsters that are banished or in your graveyard to the extra deck, and then destroy cards your opponent controls equal to the number of cards returned. Also, if zombie monsters you control would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you could banish a Shiranui from your graveyard instead. So this is a pretty good boss monster, kind of difficult to summon, but if you can get it out, it's great, like non-targeting removal. You just got to be careful because it's the exact number. You can't, if you return 3 cards to the graveyard, you have to destroy exactly 3 cards your opponent controls. If they have 2, you won't be able to destroy anything. But it also got some protection. If they try to Dark Hole Raigeki, you can just banish one of your Shiranuis, which again is going to give you some more effects. Star Eater's in here as well, in case you just go 1 level over, if you have to make this 5 or something. I rarely summon it, but the few times I have, it's been pretty good. It's nice to have a 3200 beat stick in here. But you could just as easily put another Sun Saga in here. But I digress. Going back, we have the one Bacon Saver. This is just a nice zombie during either player's battle step when attack is occurring. Banish this card from your graveyard, negate the attack. You can only use this once per duel, which is why I only run one of it. Really, it's just to bump it up to 55. 54 cards didn't sound as cool, and I like this little tech, this little zombie card that can be used with things. You could just as easily run Necro Gardna if you wanted to. I just like Bacon Saver. Plague Spreader, I already mentioned, you can summon it. Book of Life is your Monster Reborn. Galaxy Cyclone is your spell trap removal, and of course if you mill it, you can banish it from the graveyard to target a face-up spell card and destroy that. Lawn Mowing. Raigeki, usually I don't play one-ofs, especially in a huge deck, but Left Arm Offering lets you search any spell card, as does your Gold Sarcophagus. So a good tactic if you've already used your That Grass Looks Greener, and you and your opponent's deck are essentially the same, you can always use Left Arm Offering to grab Raigeki while banishing your Shiranuis, and clear the field and then attack for game. Likewise, Gold Sarcophagus, this is banish 1 card from your deck face up. During your second standby phase, add that card to your hand. This can be pretty good either for removing cards from your deck that you don't want to mill, like your Grass Looks Greener or your Raigeki, or of course just banishing Spirit Master to blow up a card or to add a card or special summon. And of course, if it turns into a grind game, people often forget 2 turns later you're adding stuff back to your hand and then you've got more plays. Shiranui style Swallow Slash. Tribute 1 zombie, target 2 cards on the field, destroy them, then banish 1 Shiranui monster from your deck. So this is great destruction, especially if you don't have your grass, if you're just sitting on a zombie monster. You can blow up 2 cards, and then potentially a 3rd card with this, or add or special summon. Again, I keep going over those over and over again, but just banishing it always helps. Breakthrough skill, similar to Galaxy Cyclone, you can negate monster effects, and if it's in the graveyard, you can banish it to negate effects on your turn. Good for negating things that can't be destroyed by card effects, and then destroying them with stuff like this. Finally, Shiranui style Samsara, great trap. This card's name becomes Shiranui style Synthesis while it's in the spell trap zone. Once per turn, you can activate one of these effects. Either banish a face-up zombie monster, you take no damage this turn, or target 2 of your banished zombie monsters, shuffle them into the deck, draw a card. So you use the first effect on your opponent's turn and the second effect during your turn. Of course, that first effect, you're banishing zombies so you can get your effects. You could search this with Shiranui Smith if you synchro summon. And what I find is good is when you make a big synchro monster and then leave one of your smaller Shiranuis on the field so that you can banish it. You'll take no damage that turn, get some kind of effect hopefully. And then of course once you've done that twice and you have monsters in the deck, you can recycle and draw at the same time. So I think that goes over just about everything. We just have the side deck, which is just a couple tech cards. This is mostly what I would actually consider for the side deck. If you need more attack negation, if they're really destroying everything on your field, Necro Gardener's a good choice to mill. Same thing with Pero Cerberus. This is if you take damage while this card is in the graveyard, you can banish this card to target one card on the field and destroy it. So even more destruction. A lot of people were talking Shootin' Doji. If you wanted to make this a 60 card deck, put this in here. You can banish 2 zombie monsters from your graveyard to draw a card, or target 1 banished zombie and place it on top of your deck. Just good for recycling things. Normally you want to keep your normal summon either for a Spirit Master or a uni-zombie or a Solitaire, which is why I didn't keep it in there. Same thing with Masked Chameleon. This is another tuner. When it's normal summoned, you can target 1 monster with 0 defense in your graveyard, special summon it, but its effects are negated. So this is a nice good recovery card. If you're already like a couple plays deep, you could summon any of your 0 defense Shiranui monsters and make some kind of level 8 monster. So pretty decent, just again, doesn't really do anything in the graveyard. A lot of people are going to ask me why I didn't run a full 60 cards, and I did originally, but it was just a little too inconsistent. I find by taking those extra 5 cards out, it just made it slightly better. You might be able to actually run this as like a 40 card variant, maybe without the grass looks greener. Hard to say, but I really wanted to experiment with higher value decks. But 60 cards was just a little bit too inconsistent for me. And these last 3, these are just alternate options. You could have another level 6 in here if you wanted to. I think Red Wyvern's kind of underrated, especially in the current meta. AD Changer's another old card that you can banish it from the graveyard to target 1 monster on the field and change its battle position. If you wanted to go for a more OTK-oriented one with Shogunsaga, you could definitely do this to move things from defense into attack, and then attack with massive damage. And of course, Burial from a Different Dimension, target 3 banished monsters, return them to the graveyard. Great card for this deck, just it's at 1 and normally you're not going to be searching it, but if you want to, you could easily throw it in here. It wouldn't make too much of a difference. So there you go. There's your deck profile for the week. I hope you enjoyed. It's a really fun deck to play. Lots of combos. It's probably a longer video than I normally do. I apologize, but there's a lot of cards to go over. Next week will be a little bit more simpler. I'm going to hopefully be looking at Raid Raptors. Try to get some Ultimate Falcon Turbo in there. Until then, good luck. Have fun.